All right, folks, we're live. Great to see everyone on Friday. Peter, Mary, it's always good to see you. I guess if my name was Paul, we could be a band, but
Well, I was kind of thinking it's like I've got the Mana Fusion and the three-letter acronym over there. So
So you're the odd man out.
I guess so. I have my full name. That's about it. I mean, I guess I'm the boring one.
That's all right. We love you anyway. So good to be here. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everything's amazing in your world. And Jim's back in the world of no furnace going off.
Yes.
California was last week.
Yeah.
No furnace going off.
No dry heat. It felt like it.
Okay.
It was it's a dry heat though, as opposed to the
humidity. As everyone says, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is it? Furnace Gulch in Death Valley is going to hit 134.
That is crazy.
You know, that's about the time you just want to go. I think it's time to move off this planet.
Yeah, I think so. If that's the only option you had, I think so. We got lots of options though, even in California.
Yeah. So we're here today. We're going to talk about part 3 of creating your digital distribution strategy. So let's kick off the show with Peter and have him kind of give us some guidance of where we're going with this.
Well, that's a tall order. Anyway, I just wanted to start, and obviously Mary and Jim jump in. So what is this, our 4th in the series, this ongoing series? Just to recap for everybody, if you haven't, and Jim will share, we have these up on YouTube from the very beginning, where Jim and I talked about the origin story of Relatable. And then we went through, all three of us here, on demand generation versus lead generation in the relationship economy. So just to start, a quick recap, we're going to talk about distribution strategy. What does that mean? Well, distribution strategy means where are you going to put all your digital content? What is your digital footprint? And it's not just LinkedIn. This is an ongoing thing. It's a continuous improvement thing. We're in the same boat as you guys with our oars in the water. Continually developing personal and relevant content. But I will say this, if you go back to the very beginning of when we started this, in fact, I was talking to Mary about this, I think yesterday. And if you really think about things common sense wise, guys, at the end of the day, really, you can have social proof. You can have customer reviews, but at the end of the day, the only proof you really have is just look in the mirror. Because if you look in the mirror and look at yourself and ask yourself, how do I buy? You buy based on starting research online. So if you're buying that way, everyone else, your potential buyers, your potential clients, your potential customers are buying the same dang way you are. Okay. So that's why we said, when we looked at this as part of what we were going to do with Relatable, is there has to have some things happening here. So for many, many years, we have been in the attention economy and lead generation. And I'm telling you, if you know some SDRs or BDRs, sales development reps or business development reps, people are getting in panic mode now because leads are not working. I mean, Mary can talk about this in a second. They're not working like they used to. And if you're a CEO or founder or a marketing agency or a coach or consultant, and you're sitting there going, wow, that's kind of true for us, listen up here, because we have a predictable solution that we're following that you can follow too. So the first thing is the attention economy was all about, who put out the most, who yelled the loudest, and you see it, it's a cacophony, even on LinkedIn. There's all these posts and then reposts and all this stuff, right? And, typically what we used to do, or what a lot of people are still doing, they're falling into this panic trap of lead gen is, what do? You do this and you send them to a landing page and you collect an email. And then what do? Then we send them a whole bunch of emails. We have these fancy email marketing campaign software applications, platforms that have been around for years. But there's a problem, as you know. Open rates and click-through rates are not what they used to be. And we've talked to a lot of CEOs and founders, and they're all telling us privately, of course, like, this is not working like it used to. What the hell do I do? So, and not only that, guys, but by doing that, I always say, look, I've got 20 plus years of neuroscience brain research. I know how to activate the reward circuit of the brain to persuade people to buy or evoke emotions, but I cannot develop a relationship with email. Email is arm's length. We call it arm's length stranger marketing. So you're going to catch that 1 to 5%. And I just wrote a post about this. Typically, a lot of those, it's low commitment, low quality leads. They're typically the opportunity seekers or the shiny penny people, which is like, oh, next opportunity, let's go jump over here, right? And so, if you really are looking for a predictable stream of good quality potential buyers, you got to move away from lead gen. Now, we'll talk a little bit about some of the strategies of how you phase it over to demand gen. But lead gen, basically, the definition of what we said in the last few shows is you are having a person, a potential buyer, potential client, potential customer, enter your sales process to try to persuade them to buy. The problem is, if you looked in the mirror and you said, yep, I do research, that's where the problem starts, because people do not want to be sold to. Mary, do you have any, or Jim, any comments about that with a BS meter being at an all-time high?
Yes, I do. So if we go back to 30,000 foot level, the first couple shows were all about shifting our, and I call it mindset, but we can call it shifting our strategy, shifting the way we think about things. We shift it from lead gen to demand gen. That's what we have. That's the first step we have to take, is switch that framework. Then we can come down. Once we switch that framework and go, yes, I don't buy that way. I buy by doing research. Then we can go into innovation. Okay, if that's the way we buy, what are we going to do? How does this work? How can we actually apply this? And then we went into, that's what Relatable does. You need to start building relationships. You need to actually focus on relationship building versus lead generation tactics and funnels and email marketing and all of that. Today, we get to talk about, okay, how do we do that? The strategy and the tactics of how we do that. And that's exactly what we get into with distribution. That's where demand generation starts, is with your distribution channels. How do you get your content out there for people to actually start building that relationship with you? So that's kind of the mindset of the BS meter. That's been there since, even when I started in chatbots back in 2017. By the time we hit 2018, everybody was like, yeah, I've got my opinion on chatbots. I already know what I feel about that. So I already know what I feel about email marketing. That's where the BS meter just goes off the charts. So yeah, mindset
it's
of
really
demand gen. Now we get into the strategy and tactics.
Yep. And the only thing I'm going to add is, the definition of demand gen, as we look at it, guys, is you are being invited into the potential buyer's process when they're ready to buy. But like Mary said, this is why we're talking about distribution strategy, because you and everyone else first goes through an awareness thing. Then you go through consideration, and then you're ready. And that covers 100% of your potential buyers, not the 1 to 5% just in lead generation. In fact, studies show if we ever do go into a global recession or US recession or wherever you're at in the world, typically that 5% goes down to 1%. So now you're fighting for even less of a pool of what people call leads. So the only other thing I want to add, guys, is, in fact, I talked about this today on LinkedIn a little bit, is there's a thing called the law of diminishing returns. And the law of diminishing returns is when everybody is doing something in marketing, 3 things are going to happen. And when I say these 3 things, you're going to go, yep, that happened to me. Number 1, it gets a lot more expensive. Look at your ad costs and what's happened over the last few years. I don't care the outbound, right, with ads. The CAC, the cost per customer acquisition, has gone way up, right? To a point where a lot of small business owners go, I can't afford it. I mean, that happened to me in my wellness center. We had to stop doing ads because it was too expensive. Second, it gets hard to get a return on your investment. I mean, think emails, funnels, chatbots, just because, they make it easy to push a button and send it out to a whole bunch of people. First of all, doesn't mean it's going to give you an ROI. And secondly, it doesn't mean that it's good to do. Because a lot of times, guys, when you're doing a lot of this email marketing or chatbot marketing, you're damaging your reputation and brand by hitting all these cold people because they didn't ask it for it. And secondly, that's another big thing about the relationship economy and what we can do in Relatable is we allow potential buyers to choose their own priority adventure that's personal and relevant to them. That's how we want to explore as buyers. That's how we want to discover products, make considerations with our competitors, and then finally get into a state of readiness. And the last one, the law of diminishing returns, is you become part of the noise. So this then leads us directly into distribution strategy. So that means, okay, so if you don't want to become part of the noise, you want to get a good return on investment, you want to create a predictable stream of potential buyers, and you want to future-proof your business. This is the third part, and we're going to get into actual specific methods and use cases and how we do this in distribution channels. So, Jim, you got a question there?
Yeah, I just put up, because I know we're going to get into it, is what is the distribution channels? Because I think that's what people are, probably like, well, what is that and how does that work for us?
Yeah. So I'm going to start just high level, and then Mary, you can jump in on specifics. There's really, guys, and again, we are adding and we're creating a new foundation for our demand gen engine. Okay. So the three pillars really are your website, your managed channels, and your third-party channels. Okay. And so I'm going to let Mary or Jim talk about, because first of all, the only other thing I want to say high level is in demand gen, your digital footprint has to be your best salesperson. And here's why. Because think about it, guys. Let's go back to common sense. I don't care where you are in the world watching this. Do you go research Monday through Friday, 9 to 5? Look in the mirror. We don't do that. You might be researching at midnight, 2 in the morning. Might be on a Saturday, might be on a Sunday. So you have to be present 24/7. And your digital footprint can do that, but your digital footprint has to be that best salesperson. And we're going to talk specifically in your distribution channel, and we'll mention reference content, although that's in the last one we just did. So if you want to go to YouTube, check that out. But Mary, do you want to talk about the website and kind of how that plays an important role in distribution strategy?
Yeah, we all know a website is your own land. We know that that's the place that you own. You can make it whatever you like. I was working with a gentleman who's just building his website and just trying to figure out what to put on his website and how to structure it and all of that. But most people, if you research, let me ask you, if you, let's say, meet someone and you see their email address, you see the end of their email address, the @ whatever, you're going to go, okay, that's their website. That's what I do. I look at, okay, is that their website? I go and look at it. If there's nothing there, if it leads me to a link tree, if it leads me to a .me that just has a list of buttons, that doesn't really tell me anything about the person. I need something there, something to talk in their own words. Your website is your opportunity to talk in your own words, because as far as the rest of the world knows on the internet, that's you. That's your home. So the content you put on that website will be usually the first thing after wherever the person actually met you, whether it's on a social channel or via email. That's the first place they're going to go to see who you are. And with Relatable, I have it on my website. I have right at the top of the fold a relatable video that allows people to take an adventure with what I stand for and who I am and why this property is mine. So why would you not use that as the first opportunity to be demand gen focused? So in other words, my website isn't all about me. It's not about how wonderful I am and how amazing I am. No matter how amazing I am, it's not about that. It's about what I do for others. And that's demand gen. If I'm going to go to your website, I'm going to try and figure out, are you for me? Is that something that you offer me? Do I align with what you're talking about? Do you speak to me? Do you solve the problems that I have? That's what your website needs to focus on, not just how wonderful you are and how many clients you have and how many podcasts you've been on. So in that sense, it's your owned property. Now, I think, Peter, when you talked about distribution channels, you talked about website, and then you talked about managed channels. But I think what you were talking about before was managed channels has two parts: your owned channels and third-party channels.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll get into that in a second. I want to talk a little bit more about the website because it's really, really important. So, guys, if you think about the history of websites, really they've been billboards, and it's been kind of it's like a digital business card. And yeah, you can make them look really cool with Wix or WordPress or whatever you want to do, but we flipped our thinking 180 degrees because, and here's the thing, guys, if you know me, I'm not really big on the word funnel, and I'm not really big on the word email marketing, and I don't like emails, and I don't like Facebook. I mean, these guys know this kind of stuff. But with that said, forget about my opinions. Your website and how we are setting our website up, it has to flow like a demand gen funnel. Okay. So it's no longer a billboard. So what do I mean by that? Well, when people first come in, like Mary says, their first exposure, right? And typically it's the way, they may have seen you on managed channels. We're going to get into that with social sites. But when they come over and they're starting to go, okay, what are these people about, right? There's two things you got to do. First of all, you got to walk them through the funnel of awareness, consideration, and then when they're ready, we'll talk about that. What are you going to do, right? Are you going to do a demo? Are you going to do a virtual demo? Are you going to do FAQs? Are you going to show a pricing page? That's when they're ready to go. But typically, you got to walk them through these. Secondly, the most important thing is, guys, and this is why Relatable is so important for you and why Mary said she put it right up at the top of the fold, because most people never get past the top of the fold. So whatever you do, that has to do this. First of all, it has to explain their outcome and their transformation. And it has to somehow engage, let them choose their own priority adventure, and then build relationships and build trust. So this is part of, guys, remember, it's not just demand gen, it's demand gen in the relationship economy. This is where we are. And in fact, guys, I think I mentioned this last time, I'll say it again. Gartner did a study, 84% of companies, this is mostly B2B, but a lot of you guys listening are in B2B, 84% will make the choice to buy from a company based on the relationship with that company, even if the competitor had a better price and sales terms. 84%. And it goes back to the old adage. This is the other timeless phrase that we have been. I don't care where technology goes. I'm a tech guy. I don't care where AI goes. I don't care where all technology goes. Bottom line, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. And it will always be that way. Okay. As long as we have humans involved and we don't go to Terminator, the movie, we are going to be doing business with other people. Okay. That's where it happens. Because like if I put my AI meme out to you to close you and you found it was can't do that yet. But let's say generative AI got there and you found out it was the AI meme and not me. How would that make you feel? It's like, well, that was pretty crappy. Why didn't the person show up? The other thing too, guys, we mentioned this before. Everybody knows HubSpot. HubSpot came out with a study last year, 70% of all potential buyers, this is both B2B and B2C, they don't care as much about your brand or company. They want to see videos, preferably interactive, from the CEO, founder, or head honcho. They want to see you. And that's true, not just for solopreneurs, Small business, mid-cap, that's true for large corporations. They want to see videos from the CEO of the company. They want to have direct interaction. Okay. So when you're setting up your website, you have to think of relationship economy. How do I start building trust? How do I start that relationship process, which Relatable can do because it's interactive video relationships? And then also, how do I start creating awareness and consideration and take them through that demand gen funnel? So you have to shift your way of thinking a little bit and shift the way you're presenting content in your content strategy on your website. Now, some of the other things on websites that I would add is, Mary said, it's very true. And again, there's all these fancy acronyms, ICP, buyer persona, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, it's all important. And we defined ICP in the last YouTube video. So go over there to the YouTube site. But the key thing is, guys, it's like Mary said, this is not about you. It's not about me. It's not about Mary. It's not about Jim. This is about our potential buyers. So they have to understand both what's the outcome, what's the transformation, but the third and most important thing is why. Why would they need relatable? Well, here's why. Because you need to build relationships with your potential buyers, and you need to keep those relationships with your existing customers and turn them into fans. Relatable can do that. Relatable can reconnect them back where they pause watching. Relatable can re-engage based on their answers and their actions, not what you want to sell to them in your marketing message. They get to choose their own adventure journey. And I'm telling you guys, I don't know of any other platform that can do that out there. Not funnels, not email marketing, not chat bots, not even any other interactive video applications. They're going from point A to point B. Yeah, they send you off of different things, but they're not re-engaging and nurturing. So again, guys, it's like you guys know, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, right? You can aware, connect, engage through commenting. That's where it stops. You cannot fully develop a relationship on LinkedIn. And I will, anybody that disagrees with me, love to have a chat with you. Because again, I'll say, look in the mirror. So this whole thing is you got to do that. And then secondly, here's the thing. We all know in websites, we want to keep them there, right? So that all the social sites do a good job of keeping your eyeballs there, keeping you rolling. You got to do the same thing in your world too. So how do you do that? Well, think about it, guys. We know nowadays everybody's watching or listening, but there are some people that are still reading. So I'm not saying, hey, Relatable is the only tool you should use and don't use any other tool. I'm saying Relatable is one tool and one framework that is part of your relationship economy and your demand gen strategy. So you certainly should use it everywhere on your website, but you can also have blog posts. You can have your podcast shows. You can have case studies. You can have competitor playbook, all these kinds of things. We talked about that in the last one in the content strategy, but all these things should be there. But here's the key thing. Don't forget, just like when you did blog posts and you put in hyperlinks to send them to other blog posts, make sure it's the same thing. If you're going to do something with a Relatable, send them to another Relatable, send them to a blog. The blog goes to the podcast. The podcast goes to the Relatable. We call this content looping. Look, guys, I'm doing this on LinkedIn now. If you want to see how content looping works, look at my post today. Today's July 12th. Go in there and look, because in the comments, I'm sending them to other Relatables. I'm doing content looping. I want to keep people engaged if they're interested, right? And like, well, what is this Relatable whole thing about in the relationship economy and demand gen, right? So you got to do that on your website too. So it's really, the key thing is, we talked about this content strategy. Awareness is unique point of view and change of perspective. Considerations include virtual demos, use cases, case studies, competitive guides. We covered all that in the last one. And then when they're ready, they want to look at FAQs, product buying guides, pricing, maybe a free trial if you have it, if you're a SaaS company like ours. But that's really the key thing. Give them, because here's the thing. That's the other thing. Gartner and others, it's not just Gartner. There's been other studies I've read. Before people get to readiness, they have done typically 70 to 80% of their research already. They've already made up their mind. And typically, even if you're an enterprise level sales, they are choosing you plus maybe one or two others. They've leveled it all the way down. So if you don't show up and you don't produce, think about the relationship aspect and think about demand gen with this demand gen strategy and this distribution content strategy, they're going to your competitors. It's like Mary said, you have an 80s looking website or you have something that looks outdated. I mean, that's the other thing too, guys. Personal and relevant. I said this last time. Relevant means it's relevant to their problems, their outcomes, their transformations, and their relationship with you. But relevant also means it's timely. If you have stuff on there that's 2 years old and that's all you have, and they come to your website, they're going, are these guys still in business? Right? So any other thing, Jim or Mary, to add on the website before we move to the next thing?
Well, I do have a comment from Christos that for some reason StreamYard's not pulling it in, but he said what Mary said earlier, he said makes sense, but he wanted to know, isn't the challenge to get someone there?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. Mary, you want to do that? And then if I have anything to add,
Yes. And that's the challenge no matter what. That's the number one challenge we all have. Where are people going to find us? So again, being wherever your customer is, and this is going to take us into the other managed channels and having your content there, being wherever your potential buyer is, you need to be. We were just talking about this before, where Pinterest is all of a sudden coming onto the scene again, having a very large business component. I've heard that a lot about TikTok. So you need to decide, where am I going to be? Where are my customers? And have content there as well. But once you have that content, again, with Relatable, you don't have to worry about, let's say on LinkedIn, where you just send people to your profile with your link, or your featured section with your link, or your that section that talks about you and has a little website, go to my website. You can actually have it on your content without LinkedIn basically throttling your reach by using a Relatable. You can have any amount of content on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, any of that, and have interactive video content with Relatable. And in your Relatable, have your website link to have people click and go through to your website and be able to experience your demand gen focused content. Yes, your website is your owned land. It is only one place. The majority, that's where they're going to start. I look at your website as awareness, but also curiosity, because I'm not going to go and actually type in your website unless I'm curious about what you do. So I've heard something you've said. I've seen a post on socials about what you do, or I've seen an email, however we were introduced, and I'm going to be curious and I'm going to go start my research with your website. You can also have all of those social platforms directed to your website with these interactive videos. I can't say enough how everywhere your customer is, you need to have, like Peter said, the relevant, timely content that directs them to specifically channels you own. And your website is the number one channel you own. There are other places, podcasts, that's also on your website, but that's on other channels that other people own, iTunes, Stitcher, those kinds of things. But your website still is going to have your blog posts that feature your podcast. Your live videos, like we're doing this, that's going to be on a managed channel from YouTube or, again, your website. You can put it on your website, but you need to maximize all of those channels. But everything directs people to your owned properties.
Yeah, I mean, you're really talking, I guess the term would be omni-channel, right? It's like you can't just be in one place, because you don't always get that measure of, are the people that you're looking to connect with there. And I think, going back to what Peter said, it's just so important to think about building relationships. And I think, Peter, we've all heard, this was back before COVID, Cisco said 80% of content would be video, but yet, even though that may be the case, 80% of businesses are not creating video.
Yeah, but they will. The thing is, it's one of these things where, these organizations, no matter what size they are, if you start hitting the panic button enough, you're going to make some changes. And all I'm saying, guys, is right now, and again, Relatable, we say this in our post, Relatable, we're looking for innovators and early adopters that want that first mover opportunity. If you can think back to the late 90s and early 2000s when email was there, the only thing I will say that's different about Relatable is when it becomes mainstream, it's not something that becomes a scourge like email has come. It will become an asset to your organization because you're developing relationships. It's about people doing business with people they like, know, and trust. This is why I spent a long time trying to figure out, okay, how can I mimic human relationships in business and in personal life? How can we, what do we do? So, so that's really the big difference. Mary and Christos, and we'll go into this more, but Mary talked about these managed channels, right? You guys are on LinkedIn. So some of them you own, like Mary said, your podcast you own, right? Your blog posts you own, your relatables you own, your website you own. These are owned channels that you have. Then there's ones that are non-owned, like social sites. You don't own anything on LinkedIn. I mean, look, here's the thing. You can have there's a person I know, she is a very large influencer on LinkedIn. And about a month ago, she has over 150,000 followers. She got banned from LinkedIn for several days. All her content gone. Everything she built for 2 years gone. Now, fortunately, it came back. But the thing is, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. We know somebody. I'm in a community with a fellow from the United Kingdom. He built up a massive following for veterans, over 48,000 on Facebook. He told me it got banned 3 times before he finally gave up. See, guys, if you don't think this could happen to you, think again. It could happen to us too. This is why we're saying, okay, we know what LinkedIn is. We know what Pinterest is. We know what YouTube is. We know what TikTok is, Instagram, any of those, right? We know what they are. They're a place where you can grow your audience, but you got to get that audience off of those social sites. Those social sites don't want you to do this. This is why, for example, here's a relatable example. So you guys know on LinkedIn, right? If you put a link in your post and that goes off LinkedIn, your impressions get dramatically reduced. In fact, some of the content creators I know that have a good sized followings, they're tracking that typically you get about a 50% hit in reach. So here's what we did at Relatable. If you go to Mary's or Jim's or mine, and you'll see it'll either be a Giphy where it's motion for a video, or it will be an image. And we say right in there, tap or click on it. Now, the thing you guys should know is globally on LinkedIn, about 88% of all LinkedIn are on their phones. They're not on a desktop, guys. So you really need to design your mobile content, your content to be mobile. It's got to be, I think it's 45 characters or less, and it's got to be short. They got to be able to scan it. And that also affects people's their ability to engage with your content if you're not making it mobile friendly. But what I was going to say is, if you tap on one of our GIFs or the image, Relatable pops right up over LinkedIn. There is no link to go away. There is no impact on the algorithm. We did that on purpose because we didn't want you guys to be penalized for using Relatable. But even more importantly, we want to, when they do that, we want them to come into your relatable world outside of LinkedIn. Now they're experiencing you. They're seeing you. They're talking to you. They're interacting. They're answering questions. They're doing in-screen actions. And so, the thing is, that's why I say, and I've talked a lot about this. I just wrote a post 2 days ago. Passive video is a status quo trap. Why? Because you have passive viewers. Passive breeds passive. So I don't care what these people are telling you out there. They're going to watch your video. They may engage with you. But look, what are you going to do? How are you going to get them off that rented land? That's why Relatable is not passive video. It's interactive video. It has all the benefits of familiarity of passive video. But the one, I said this before, the big thing that people are looking for, your potential buyers, they want to choose their own priority adventure that's personal and relevant to them. Passive video cannot do that. Just like email marketing cannot develop relationships. So if I say, look, good videos, passive video, great videos, interactive video, but legendary video is interactive video with relationships. And that's what we're trying to achieve. We're big students of Christopher Lochhead. You got to be legendary. You got to be different. You have to do something that really fosters that people do business with people they like, know, and trust. So that's the managed channels. Mary or Jim, did you have anything else? We're going to get into third-party channels here in just a minute. Any other comments or additions?
Well, I would just say that I think what you hit on is so important with these channels and with Relatable is you're able to put this message and interact in places you've probably never really interacted before in building relationships.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why, like Peter said, this is really something that, if you don't get in now, you're going to wish you had, because this is the ability to do something innovative, different, and it's going to help you grow not only your business, but your relationships. Because how many people go to these networking meetings and you really don't have anything to leave the person with, and you hope, right? You hope that they might get back to you. And how many times do you end up, you never meet these people again, and all they're doing is passing out business cards. So I think that's where this distribution channels and strategy are so important.
Yeah. And the thing is too, I always talk about, hey, in my company, and these guys know, because I always talk about, you got to eat your own dog food. And the thing is, I have fun doing these relatables now. When I first came on, because I hadn't done a lot of video, and I was like, what do I say? Well, I've talked to some people that are, they're analogs like all of us. And as soon as I mentioned, hey, you can use SmartScript with artificial intelligence, and you put in your little topic, it writes your script for you in Relatable with interactive questions. And the people go, oh my God, that's exactly what I need, right? Well, the thing is, it gets them started, and then they can edit it. And before they jump on, there's a teleprompter inside Relatable, and you record your video. But what we found is over time, and we've done the same thing. Mary and I and Jim, we were all the same. I don't know, maybe Jim was better. But I know for me, after I did about 3 or 4 of the script ones, I went, I'm just going to talk off the top of my head. So we have that too. So we have manual script, and sometimes I use manual script when I have a lot of bullet points or statistics that I can't remember in my head. I'll do that. But a lot of times there's one, it's called bullet points, and you just put in like 3 or 4 bullet points you want to talk about, turn on the camera, start talking. You have to still have have a hook to get them going. You can add some questions in there if you want to, but a lot of times bullet points are great for Relatable, for awareness, because in awareness, I always tell people, if you're dealing with a company like ours, where we're not compacted. When I talk about compacted, I talk about chiropractor can use Relatable. Their potential clients, if they got a bad back or they got neck pain, they want a decision today. It's like, how do I get out of this pain? So they're not going to sit there and go to your website and go, oh, let's go through awareness consideration. They're like, no, where's my answer? But having that chiropractor on, talking to them, it's starting to build familiarity and trust. And that chiropractor can ask them a few questions in a diagnostic survey. And if they got back pain, it takes them right to the back pain solution. The chiropractor's talking to them. And then we have these things called popovers, which you can do little custom images or icons. And it's basically while the chiropractor's talking, you can say, hey, if this resonated with you, here's some things you do at home. Here's the things we're going to do in the office with you. Go ahead. I have, you can text me, call me, or set an appointment right there. And then they just do that. And so it's an in-screen experience. It's frictionless. It's easy. Now, for a company like ours, that's more people, when they come in, they want to see some things, right? They're going to go through awareness. They're going to look at us compared to other interactive videos, software applications. They're going to do some consideration and things like that. So that's where, Relatable can shine, because we can create whole interactive experiences, and it takes them to other interactives. But the key thing is, based on how they answer or the actions they do, we can set up re-engagements to send them other videos that are personal and relevant to their answers and actions. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't know of any other software application that can do that. That's the relationships piece in interactive video relationships. So this is so key, guys, to do this. It's not just about creating demand. It's about creating demand in the relationship economy. And like Jim said, you got to develop those relationships with people. People are starving for that. In a sea of content and information and sterility of our environments out there in the online digital space, this is a breath of fresh air, because they're getting to see you and interact with you. And I always say it's like having a coffee chat with 100,000 people at a time. And it really is. We're here, we're talking to you guys, and there's a few of you guys on, and this will go live, and a lot of other people will see it, and that's great and everything. Or if you go on Zoom, that's great too. But the problem is I can't scale that, right? I can't get to a whole bunch of people at the same time. That was one of the things when I thought about Relatable. It's like, how can we do this? How can we mimic human relationships, but at scale, right? So that we can really have these interactions. And guys, I don't know about you. I will say this all the time. I like podcasts. I like audio. Every once in a while, I'll read a blog post. There's nothing that can replace video. It is the best medium to have some kind of a familiarity dialogue. I have a radio show from the Pacific Northwest. I cannot create, I've been doing it 16 years. There's no way I can create the same demand on that radio show that I can create on video here. So we want to move to third-party channels?
Yes.
Okay, Mary, you want to kick it off?
Yes. So third-party channels are some of my favorite channels. When we talk about third-party channels, these are still other people's audiences. You're still renting. You're still getting access to someone else's platform, but they are places where your expertise can really shine. So when you're talking about guest posting or podcasting, being a guest on other people's podcasts, using other people's audience, being on a live with someone else on their YouTube lives, any of those where you are on someone else's channel and you get to showcase your expertise. That, I think, combined with the use of a Relatable on that person's site, is one of the fastest ways to help people go through that progression of awareness, consideration, and then readiness. And again, I call it curiosity, because that's kind of how I feel about people. But consideration. So if you're on a podcast and you are lucky enough for someone to invite you onto their show, they're going to have show notes. They're going to have information on how to get in touch with you. If you're really lucky and it's a video podcast, you can actually put your own QR code on the screen, or ask them to put that on the screen, or put the link in, or a QR code in the show notes. And that leads them directly to your website, your Relatable. Personally, it would be a Relatable, because they just heard your voice. They just heard your voice. They just read your text. They can then go get deeper into a relationship with you. But especially if it's a podcast or a blog post, they're going to take the biggest step toward relationships, like Peter said, and that's in a video. So the faster you can get them to that video experience with you, the deeper and faster that relationship is going to progress. But these channels are really for ways for you to showcase your expertise and be able to bring your point of view, your different, what you stand for and what you stand against, your legendary personality and the way you do things, into the world of all of the listeners, readers, and viewers of someone else's audience. So if you position yourself as not necessarily an expert, because I have a feeling about experts and the fact that they are in the past, they're an expert about something previously that has been created, and a lot of us have to create our knowledge from that. But you're looking forward, so you're going to take that expertise and apply it to something new. That legendary status of your expertise being applied to your new thing, to me, that's innovation. You can deepen that relationship with video from one of those other channels. So I love third-party channels. If you're respectful and you're invited, you can make a huge difference in people's lives, and you can definitely help them have that transformation that Peter talked about, not just on your website, but actually with you in a video. What do you think?
And I think, Mary, too, to your point, and this is the beauty of how easy it is with Relatable, and Peter and I have been talking about this a lot. If I had been using Relatable when I was on your podcast originally, I could have said a Relatable could have started out like, hey, thanks for watching me and Mary today on CEO Mischief. It's great to see you here. Love to connect with you further, and then give them those options. Even that personalization, right? I mean, I basically just said the video script right there. And at the end, I can have my giveaway or whatever without having to give the host, 15 different links. It's like, hey, just have them go here and they're going to learn all about me. And I
We're
think
doing
that's
that
very
now.
powerful.
Yeah, we're doing that now. Any podcast I'm on, most people who are savvy to this, they already have a landing page. You can do typically what people do is a special landing page. They take one landing page, they create it, then they just duplicate it for each podcast they go on with their things, their lead magnets, their information, whatever that is. Well, it's so much more productive and relationship building through this, if you look at it from the lens of demand generation, to have that personalized video, interactive video for that audience. And again, very easy and relatable to do. You can take that initial video of thank you so much, that personalized part. Thank you so much for joining me on Jim's podcast today, or whenever you're listening to this. Thank you so much for joining me on Jim's podcast. I really had a blast talking to him about XYZ. I would love to share with you more information that I shared on the podcast for you to download this thing or go to this place or get this amazing piece of content that I talked about. So all you need to do is click the link that's applicable to you. And then the rest of that is all standard for all of your podcast shows. But all you do is record your initial personalized part, and you send people to all the normal places that are now your owned sites, your own content, your own distribution channel. It's a beautiful way to deepen that relationship. So yeah, if you'd have had it on my podcast, well, we can add it to the show notes. Let's go.
One thing I want to add to you guys, because this is something that is really, really important for people to realize what you can do with Relatable. There's two things. Number one, in fact, I was talking to Jim about this yesterday. So I'm starting to send, and you can knock these out in 3 to 5 minutes. Let's say you have a key person in LinkedIn that you really want to make an impact and talk to, right? Well, what you can do is you can open up the camera and just say, hey, I really thank you for being a connection. I thank you for your comments. I really appreciate the things you're doing. And I'd love to talk with you about this, this, and this as it relates to some benefit possibly that, might be helping you. And if you'd like to go ahead and set an appointment, you can have the popover right there and they can just tap on it. And by the way, you can put these in LinkedIn DMs. You just copy the link, you pop it in, and it shows the image, the thumbnail image of that. And you tap on the image and away it goes right in your Relatable. So that's one way. The second way, so building off of third-party channels. And this is something that others don't have that you can have with Relatable. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term dark social. Dark social is not dark web, okay? Dark social is the private message sharing of content, product, and service recommendations. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but up to 80% of all content sharing and product and service recommendations are done through private messaging, through dark social. So think about the use case example with Jim being on Mary's show. He does an interactive, but then at the end, he says, hey, if this is something you listen to my show, if this is something you thought was beneficial and you really like the content, go ahead and tap here. Now they'll tap on, there could be a little icon right on the screen that's a text icon, and it will take them right into their phone contacts database, carries the link forward. They choose who they want to send it to in their phone contacts database, put in their little text message and send it out. And now Jim's show is being shared through other people's phones to other people that they know, like, and trust about the content Jim had. Think about that. Now, one of the big things about that, because that person did it through their phone to another person's phone, that's the phone-to-phone plan, P2P, that costs you this, $0. You could build your entire audience off of doing private messaging. So you can do it through email, you can do it through WhatsApp for your international customers, but you can also do it through text. And imagine having that capability where, you know, if there's content people like, or they want to share it. Here's another example use case. Let's say you're a larger business and there's a committee that has to make a decision on a particular purchase. It might be an enterprise software that's $500,000. Well, wouldn't it be cool if you could put in the video after they went through all the stuff, or whichever video, hey, if you need to share this with the other decision makers, go ahead and tap here. You can send it to them through email, through text, through WhatsApp. Again, that's the dark social. That's the private messaging. But that is a third-party strategy, because you're building off of other people's relationships and audiences. And think about it this way, guys. If you get a text or a WhatsApp from somebody you don't know, what do you typically do? Block, spam, get out of here, right? If you get a text or a WhatsApp or an email from somebody you know, and they're recommending you watch it, what do you think you're going to do? Well, yeah, I'm going to at least check it out, because I know Jim, I know Mary, they sent this to me. Yeah, I'm going to check it out, right? So we give people that ability. That's another third-party channel. And I will say, probably that is one of the most powerful channels you can have, because it's friends sharing with friends. So any other comments, guys?
Well, we got a big post here from Michael.
Oh, Michael Holt.
Yeah, he goes, I love Relatable. Just started to learn how to use the app and have begun the process of connecting with my target customer. It's so exciting to have this media vehicle and the expertise of the leadership team that is on the show right now. It's amazing. I get so excited to figure out what I'm going to do next and how I can use this to help grow my business. Thanks, Peter and team, for all you do. And so thank you for those kind words, Michael. And we know.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and Michael, you and I were, I guess, we were messaging or emailing each other the other day. You know, I like to talk to, and Mary and Jim handle a lot of the, both partner program and things and the affiliate, but I like to talk to a lot of you guys as we're, these are innovators, early adopter. Obviously, Michael, he sees the vision and he's using it for the benefit of his business. And you'll see some video posts that he sent last week, this next week out on our LinkedIn channel. But one thing, that was the other thing that I really wanted to do for all you guys in Relatable. I look at it like Excel, right? We all know Excel, right? Excel is kind of like you come into Excel and you can add up some numbers and maybe do some averages and little things like that, right? And 99% of the people do that. But if you want to do whole statistical modeling, mathematical modeling, you could do, pretty much whatever you can think of with Excel. Well, I wanted to create that kind of experience. So Michael, he's done a lot of good things with Relatable so far, but he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can do, not just to grow his Link It Media group. And I love what he's doing with small business communities, but all the small businesses that are linked. Imagine, he has these TV screens and they're in, places like doctor's office, nail salons, all these local businesses, right? Well, imagine having these business owners, they have their QR code, you scan it, and now they can come into that business's Relatable world and do all the things that we're talking about here. So, this is where it becomes really cool, because I always say, and I'm pushing the boundaries on Relatable too, but it's kind of like, whatever you can think of, you can create in Relatable. And if you can't, I want to hear about it personally, because you might have a great idea. We're going, yeah, with my dev team, yeah, we're gonna implement that, right? I mean, I think both Mary and Jim were the impetus for. There's another thing coming out called Reminders, set and forget. It's coming out in about 2 weeks. This allows, let's say you're a doctor's office, you can set up appointment reminders for your customers to come in back for the teeth cleaning. You set it up and it just runs in the background forever. And you just continue to have your patients come in. If it's an HVAC company, think about it. You need a furnace tune-up in the fall. You need a air conditioning tune-up in the spring. You could set the calendar. You just tap on the dates and it runs. So if you think about all these set and forget things that a business can do to help bind those customers to their business, to increase lifetime value of the customer, but most importantly, turn those customers into fans, because they're going to be seeing you and interacting, and you're going to be showing them gratitude and thanking them and all the things that you should be doing as a business owner. So that's coming. And that was partially these guys helped me with that, give me that idea. So you guys, I really thank you for that. And it's going to be a big one for people.
I got to say something about Michael, though, because Michael, he doesn't just get what we're doing here at Relatable and love what we're doing, which we're so grateful for. He is embracing demand generation because it fits his entire point of view. His point of view is community helping community focused businesses helping each other. And that's the reason he's attracted to this kind of framework and this tool, because his Link It Local program takes local businesses and helps each business grow together using these screens and being sponsored by other businesses. It's a perfect marriage between demand generation, Relatable, and his business. And the more companies, the more CEOs, he's a co-founder of Link It Media, the more CEOs and founders that realize what they're doing is really demand generation and being relatable with their audience, the more they will have an affinity to what we're talking about. So thank you, Michael. I can't say enough about how amazing it is to work with you. I enjoy every time we get to meet and talk about what you do and the companies you're helping, some of these businesses. And that's really where business is done, locally. Yes, sure, you want to go to the Costco's and the Walmarts and all those, that's fine. But local business is what drives your
community. It is. And people do business with people they like, know, and trust. I don't care, who you are. And local business is a perfect example. So I know we're running out of time. Jim, do you want to ask for any other questions, or you want to bring it home?
No, we'll bring it home here. But I did want to say real quick too that to Mary's point, Michael is this example that you talked about earlier, Peter, that he really had not done any video, right? And so he's learning, he's getting over that fear. And
he's like a natural now.
He's become a natural. That's right. Yeah. That's right. So I think that's one of those things people should not be afraid of. So yeah, we're gonna wrap things up. So make sure you follow us on YouTube for one, and then we also have, if you want to get started with Relatable, scan that QR code. I'm also going to put it into the comments. But we've got this will take you to our website and get a 2-week free trial. Don't be afraid to reach out to us if you have questions. And I know we're going to be back in a couple weeks. And Peter, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the only thing is, guys, here's the thing, and we know this: we're not for everybody. And if you're not an innovator, early adopter, like the people we have working, like the Michaels and other people, then you're not fit for us. You can wait till it goes mainstream, but by that time, you lose your early mover advantage. Right now, you get in, you have this incredible tool and framework to connect with your relatability again, but you have the ability to do that in the relationship economy with demand gen. And I can't think of we spent a lot of time thinking about how can we do this. It really can benefit our particular business owners that use this, create outcomes, create transformations, create community. But, at the end of the day, guys, create relationships. because I don't care how much technology is out there. We are still people. We still thirst for social interaction and relationships, and Relatable can do that for you.
All right, folks.
Thanks,
Well,
everybody.
see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.